This sucks for a lot of people, and I know that sometimes timing is not, in your side. However, I'm hoping this is not permanent. This is only temporary, based off of like the way this administration is going. And I mean, they have a right to look at certain things. I think you should have a better vetting process overall. You need to have people coming to this country, and you know you need to get away with the you need to get people with the mentality that, hey, I'm here to like kind of help society progress, as opposed to, hey, how can I take advantage of it, right? Hi guys, welcome to another episode. We talk to Shant. It's your boy Sushant, aka Sean, aka Sushi, whatever you like to call me. My really close friends call me Sushi. Sushant is just the name I was given, and Sean is like my white friend's name. Well, thank you for supporting the channel. I see the viewers coming in slowly but surely while I try to revive this channel, and I appreciate a little bit of comments here and there, family, friends out there, even people that are slowly subscribing to the channel and kind of like coming to hear my thoughts and pretty much whatever I think. And today I have in this particular video, I'm going to break it down in segments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to like kind of like record multiple different videos based on each topic and kind of go deep into it, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, because I've done like a bunch of Manchester United like stories back to back to back. Oh yeah, this is me without any gel. So it's very flat Asian hair. Um, yeah, but so one of the news that came out recently was that the United States current administration has decided to ban 75 countries along with the previous countries on a travel ban by suspending visa applications. Now, what this means is it's going to be a little bit of a doozy. I'll tell you that for sure, because um, it is going to impact a lot of different things. But the one thing I can tell you is it does not affect short-term visas like tourist visas. I believe short-term business visas, B1, B2s, and student visas, which again is already very hard to get, right? So let me just transition over here real quick. So this is from NBC. By the way, I use Ground News over here. Just showing you guys over here. This is where I get my news from. So yeah, I'm gonna do another segment in Manchester United, but this one over here, if I go to the U.S. visa stuff, I want to show you guys. So if I go to U.S. visa, restrictions, right? So if I click over here, what happens is this independent news website is good in the sense of like it shows the left, center, and right. So I don't try to stay biased towards one side, even though I'm progressive. But again, when it comes to immigration issues, I am very much conservative. I've said that in my previous video as well, based off of like what I've said. So just so that for the listeners out there, you could be Republican, conservative, liberal, MAGA, whatever it is that you out there. Not the crazy MAGA, but MAGA in general. I do look at from the left, center, and right. The only problem is from the right side, you have, all of these right leaning, but there's only one or two of them, which is kind of weird. And it also shows like which is more right leaning, which is more centrist, and which is more left, right? And a lot of people kind of like see BBC News, CNBC being in the center, so on and so forth. But yeah, I go best on the left, center, and right. Now, when I went to NBC, it basically says yours to stop issuing immigrant visas for 75 countries, right? They've used reasons. I don't know why they included. I don't know why they included Afghanistan. I just don't understand why they included Brazil. I mean, then again, the visa to get a visa to go to Brazil was always hard. You had to like buy the ticket first and then apply. So it's kind of like vice versa at that point in time. I don't know why. Maybe because the government over there is like, I think when the Trump version of Brazil got voted out and prosecuted and stuff, you had more of a left leaning government come in. So maybe that's one reason why, tit for tat. But a couple of the things that says the visa processing for the country will pause while the State Department reassesses immigration processing procedures to prevent the entry of foreign nationals who would take welfare and public benefits. This is what they said. So that what that basically means is they're utilizing the reasoning that they come here and they use our resources and welfare. Which again, I don't think that's quite possible because you have to be a U.S. citizen in order to get any SNAP benefits or any type of benefits that is coming from the government. I mean, you can Google it, you can look it up. It's just impossible. Now, people will have their own conspiracy theories going like, oh, they could get someone else's information, but it's just virtually impossible at that time. If it does happen, I would say maybe 1% of 1% of that population could probably do it, fraud. And most of the time, the fraud is committed by U.S. citizens, which we'll also get to in that one. So another thing, what they say is the Trump administration is bringing an end to the abuse of America's immigration system by those who extract wealth from American people. I mean, I could see what you could determine from that. It's very open-ended. So it could mean like, oh, the jobs, maybe the low-paying jobs are taken by immigrants when they come over here because they do it for a cheaper rate, right? And then it takes away opportunities from U.S. citizens. But then again, most Americans don't really want to be janitors or go work in the agriculture side or pick vegetables and stuff. But yeah, the State Department will use its long-standing authority to deem ineligible potential immigrants who would become a public charge on the United States and exploit the generosity of the American people. Okay. Most visa holders face limits in what kind of public benefits they can receive. For example, most green card holders, so that means if you get a green card, even through DV visa or whatever it is, or DV lottery, most green card holders are subject to a 5-year waiting period for food stamps and non-emergency Medicaid and Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP. So it again goes back to what I said about like how only U.S. citizens can kind of like get the benefits. Even when you get your green card, you still have to be in a 5-year waiting period. And, that's why if you look at your green card, it says issue date. It'll always go back to the date you received it, right? So, but yeah, this is mostly for long-term seeking individuals, but not short-term. So temporary workers, student visas, tourist visas, or worker-related visas, which, I don't even know how that's going to work at this point of time. So the countries that are affected by this is Afghanistan, for obvious reasons, Albania, Algeria, Antigua, Barbuda, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Bahamas. I don't know. I thought it was a U.S. territory. Bangladesh, Barbados, Belarus, Belize, Bhutan, Bosnia, Brazil, Burma, Cambodia, Cameroon, so on and so forth. So it seems like it's mostly all African countries and all Middle Eastern countries and all countries predominantly of the African descent and Middle East descent. Oh, we also have Nepal in there as well, Nigeria, even Pakistan, Russia, obviously, for obvious reasons. Not China surprisingly not China. I wonder why. Thailand. Why Thailand? Thailand is, I don't think it's that bad, but Uruguay too? That's kind of crazy. I don't know why would Uruguay get there too. But anyways, you kind of catch a drift, right? It's kind of weird that this is a decision they're making because I am, like I said, I'm very conservative when it comes to immigration. So yes, there needs to be a better immigration process when people come into this country, and it needs to be very well planned out because I think it does need a little reform. Reform in the sense of like, okay, if you're gonna come in to this country, like I said in my last video, if you want to give someone a pathway to a green card or citizenship, right, at that point in time, from getting your work visas and so on and so forth, I think the best possible way is to look at how much they are giving back into society, meaning how much taxes they're paying, right? So I'm hoping, I don't know if this administration will do it because their prerogatives are just completely different, but maybe future administrations, if you have a Democrat coming in or a progressive coming in or anybody coming in, they need to look at this issue in such a way where like we're bringing in educated people who are giving the students like, the student visas who pay a lot of money to come here. They're paying into our like university system, our education system. They're paying, out-of-state tuition fees or international student fees, which are significantly higher than what U.S. citizens or anybody with a green card within the United States would pay, right? So I feel like the diversity visa, which is now suspended, right? But I believe that should be allowed to go to the students first. So, the best way I can explain is like the H-1B process, right? The H-1B process was like the first 20,000 goes to master students who did masters first, and then the remaining used to go to outside bachelor's and master students who didn't get it, right? So that was the benefit of doing your masters in the U.S. at that time. I believe that you should do something very similar with the diversity visa, make that number a little bit less, but you're focusing on students who have graduated. Put in majority of the master students first, who graduated, international students within the diversity visa based off of each country. I'm pretty sure that database is there, right? Because you fill it out in the form, what country you're from. And based off of that, then they get the opportunity of getting their diversity visa and then having, let's say, an employer help them get that, right? Because the employer would also feel a little bit more, they would feel more confident that this individual will be a great asset to the company because they have help sponsor their diversity visa, so on and so forth. And then those who didn't get it, then you go to the H-1Bs, right? Then the H-1Bs go to master students. You keep that particular system the same. Now, when it comes to unskilled workers and people who need jobs or need support because their country's not doing a good enough job or their country doesn't have the amount of opportunities, and they want to come outside, support their family, so on and so forth. Like it could be like construction workers, it could be like agriculture workers, it could be janitors, so anybody who's doing a unskilled or low skilled job. Give them a work visa, but it should be strict. Strict in the sense that like you cannot not work. You have to at least have a job for 6, 7 months, 8 months. These companies also, labor laws need to take into effect so that these people are not mistreated, they're not abused. Obviously, we need to make sure that happens as well. But they have the ability to do these jobs and pay a certain amount of money in taxes back to the United States government, right? So you have a system where these people who stay here, they'll pay rent, they'll buy groceries, they'll buy food, they'll I don't know, they'll kind of like take that money they're earning, also spend it within I guess the community or within the U.S., right, within the economy, and then they're paying their income tax, federal income tax, up to a certain point. So if they get a 5-year working visa, maybe they need to I don't know. I'm just using up numbers here. Don't like rail me on this, but let's say they've again with my last video I said 100,000 or 50,000, whatever it is. You keep a target, right, based off of how much money they will pay into taxes within the federal government, which will then qualify them to also get, let's say, an opportunity to file for their what do you call green card or permanent residency based off of what they've done. And it's a case by case basis. You don't have to approve every one of them, but maybe like have sponsorship through employment, so on and so forth. Make it an easier process, right? And maybe if they choose to come here and then also get an education, right, or to better their chances, you are pretty much seeing them invest back into the education system in the United States, paying the U.S. education system. And mind you, they're not really getting benefits from the government. They're not getting welfare. They're not getting SNAP. They're not getting anything. So those are type of things that I feel can ultimately work out if you have a plan in the set future. Now, if you guys don't have a plan, then it will lead into a huge issue with the workforce in the United States. They'll, undocumented immigrants, that just basically means they're legal to stay here because they have like documents, but they're not green card holders or U.S. citizens, so but they're still paying taxes, right? Because they get a tax ID number or whatever it is. Back in 2023, I believe, if we look into it, how much money did they actually pay into it? So if we go over here, how much did undocumented immigrants contribute to the economy, right? It'll pretty much say over here that they paid nearly 96.7 billion in federal tax and local taxes, nearly 300 billion in spending power. I know I'm just Googling it because it's just easier, but it's there, right? So what I'm really trying to say at this point in time is it's a very complex issue. It needs to be handled it needs to be handled very carefully, because if it's not done properly, what you're really doing is you're now also not giving the amount of confidence in people that wanted to come to US and spend their time here and contribute to this economy, right? Now the whole world is going through its own nationalistic issues that, people are just fighting against each other. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what the hell's going on, people. This is just not a good take from my personal opinion, but overall it is going to like hurt the US economy if there is no proper plan set in place. Now, this is more for the Nepali people or maybe everybody else. Another thing that I also looked at is I wanted to see what kind of visas were affected, right? And I don't hate me on this, but I just couldn't find it anywhere. But I had Gemini go through each and everything, and also asked about Nepal. So over here, it actually states that as of January 2026, I pay for it, by the way, or I get it because I'm a Google Pixel user. The United States Department has announced indefinite pause on processing of immigrant visas for nationals of 75 countries. So it basically affects family-based green cards, spouses, children, siblings of U.S. citizens, residents, and employment-based immigrant visas, which is probably H-1Bs. This is probably going to be if your brother or sister is in Nepal or any other country, you want to file for their green card. It used to take a very long time, but yeah, it's going to take longer. But the children aspect of it is kind of crazy, because if your child is in another different country, they're stuck there. Like, what are you going to do? Like, your dad or mom, your child is in different countries, stuck there. Non-affected, like I said before, was the non-immigrant visas such as tourist B1, B2 visas, student F1, and business visa are not included in that type of restriction. Again, the reasoning was that administration cites a public charge rule, pausing processing to reassess screening procedures. The goal is to prevent the entry of nationals from countries whose immigrants deemed to really likely to use U.S. public welfare benefits, which is, I think, is just a reason. I don't think that's actually very true. Now, I asked if Nepal's on the list. I said yes. How does it actually affect Nepal? So the way it affects Nepal is if you look at green cards. If your family member or Nepali citizen are applying for a visa, here are the breakdown impact. Immigrant visas, which are green cards, status is now officially paused. So if you're a Nepali citizen currently waiting for an immigrant visa interview, for example, a parent or sibling of a U.S. citizen sponsored for a green card, your processing effectively halted as of January 21st, 2026. The State Department has not given a date when it will resume. That sucks. Again, the U.S. government has flagged Nepal as a country whose national it believes are high rates of welfare utilization upon arriving U.S. Again, I agree with this because there are people who take advantage of the system, and it's just that Nepali people need to do better. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say every one of them, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for everybody else. And those few bad apples, if they always clunked together, every one of those apples go bad. Right? Man. A non-immigrant visa, it's open, but it's very difficult. So I'm pretty sure all you guys are aware. And there's also a visa bond pile. So be aware, separate policies may require some Nepali B1, B2 applicants to pose a visa bond up to $15,000 to ensure that they return to Nepal. So they are putting a $15,000 bond. You have to pay $15,000 up front, and you can only get it back after you return from Nepal. It's crazy. Man, I mean, TPS, I don't know, man. This is like going back and forth. It's going through a legal status, so I don't know if it'll be taken off or not, but it doesn't seem good. Now, I also asked about what about marriage-based visa and process, because that's another important thing. Let's say you married a girl back in Nepal, and now you want to bring her here, right? Now, this particular situation has been affected. So, based on an analysis based on January 14, 2026 specifics text of Proclamation of 10998, effective January 1st, and a new State Department guidance, the situation for marriage-based visa has significantly become more difficult. So, are marriage visas affected? Yes. Unlike previous travel bans such as the 2017 ban, which often exempted immediate relatives, spouses, and minor children of United citizens, a new policy will prohibit spouses of U.S. citizens who are usually allowed to proceed even if other categories are banned. It also applies to spouses of the United States. So the public charge fees, it applies to them. The Logic Administration continues familial ties do not guarantee that an immigrant will rely on public welfare. Therefore, they are pausing all immigrant visa processing. So they're saying that it could be a possibility they could go on welfare once they come here. Again, that doesn't make sense because you have to have your green card for 5 years, but they're thinking from the long-term perspective. So if you're petitioning for a spouse in Nepal, if you are the spouse waiting in Nepal, here is the process how it is impacted. Stage one, it is open, so you can file for the I-130 petition. The status is open. You can and should file the form, the I-130 petition for alien relative. Why this part of the process happens domestically within the United States, USCIS will still process and prove the petition established that the relationship is valid. Do not stop filing. So that's the one advice. Keep filing it. However, stage two, the National Visa Center is partially frozen. So once your I-130 is approved, the case moves to NVC. You can likely still pay fees and submit documents, financial affidavits, civil documents to the NVC online. The block, the NVC, the National Visa Center, will most likely not move forward with your case to the U.S. Embassy in Kathmandu for an interview while the pause is in effect. Your case will be marked as documentary qualified. Oh, I forgot to show. Okay, I did show the screen. So you can see over here. Sorry, here we go. You can see over here that it is going to affect. It's going to affect the people who are getting married. Your wives and your kids will be stuck there. Even the consular interview, that's also frozen effective January 1st. That's probably one of the reasons why the diplomat that was there, the U.S. diplomat that was a part of, in the U.S. visa in Nepal, got called back. And everything kind of lines up, right? So again, status is frozen, and if you already had an interview scheduled on or after January 21st, it will most likely be canceled. Again, it is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. I feel, I really feel like it is going to be a tough. So the summary checklist is right here: spouse of U.S. citizen, old rules exempt, new rule frozen, no automatic exception. Spouse of green card holders, even if you have a green card holder, it's frozen, can't do anything. Fiance visa unclear, but it's most likely frozen. I mean, obviously, if the green cards are frozen, I don't see a way for the fiance visa to have an opportunity to get approved. This sucks for a lot of people, and I know that sometimes timing is not, in your side. However, I'm hoping this is not permanent. This is only temporary, based off of like the way this administration is going. And I mean, they have a right to look at certain things. I think you should have a better vetting process overall. You need to have people coming to this country, and you need to get away with you need to get people with the mentality that, hey, I'm here to like kind of help society progress, as opposed to, hey, how can I take advantage of it, right? So yeah, I mean, I've been saying it. It's a pretty unpopular opinion of mine, from people that I know. I know people from Nepal probably like, oh, you just got it in, and it's yeah. So you think it's not good for other people? No, I absolutely think if that previous process was in place and you took advantage of it, good for you. I'm not saying go retroactive back, and I'm not trying to say anything different. But I've also lived here since 2001. So when I'm living here since 2001, I'm paying my fair share of taxes. Obviously, I don't want welfare going into like people who don't want to work or contribute to society, or people who are who don't have an education come here. And I don't know, man, it doesn't feel like some parts of people are going there. I really want it to be fair, because students are the ones who are coming in and spending so much money by getting their education because they want to get a better job, and they're the ones who are not really benefiting from the system overall. International students should be the top priority for any country, because those are the minds that they've invested in, they have sharpened, they've lived here, they've assimilated to society, and I feel like they need to have the proper channel and proper, opportunity to grow within the country after spending so much amount of money within the country itself. And this goes back to say, like, hey, listen, I can be progressive. I want universal healthcare. I want free education for the U.S. citizens. I want better infrastructure. I want jobs. I want affordability. I want affordable housing, affordable food. I want taxes to be fair. It needs to be charged for everybody from the top to bottom in a fair, concise percentage. It shouldn't be a number figure. It should be a percentage, right? The middle class needs to kind of come back up again, but you have to do it in such a way, because these are all complex issues, right? But for this particular topic, I'm going to end it here. Again, guys, if give me right in the comment section if you agree, disagree with me. Like, just let me have it. I don't really care. It's a community. I love an open discussion. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel as well. Check out our podcast. We just dropped our Venezuela podcast with Luis. He's a Venezuelan immigrant. who his family had to flee Venezuela because of what was going on, and he has his points too. So I feel like that would be also a great back and forth going on because he had a completely different outlook of it, and I come in with a more of an international outlook. So remember, follow our podcast channel, News Nonsense and More. The NNM team works really hard every time, and we're growing. They're slowly but surely trying to revive this channel. So also follow this channel. So follow Talk to Shashant, follow News Nonsense and More, and don't forget to hit that, to hit the like button, comment on it, and subscribe and hit that notification bell because help us out with the algorithm, right? So this is what is done for this topic. Peace.